Okay, so let's dig into this. You're tuning in today because you probably sense a really big shift happening, something that feels like it's going to touch, well, everything.
Yeah, there's definitely that feeling in the air.
And the source material we're exploring calls this the age of supremacy. It's a striking phrase. It positions AI not just as another tool, but potentially as the brain of civilization.
That's the core concept, yeah, the underlying intelligence layer.
So in this deep dive, we're going to unpack what that really means, why the sources suggest this change isn't just coming, but is maybe already irreversible.
And critically, how you can figure out your place in all this, using the insights from the materials you've been checking out.
Exactly. So where do we start? The sources seem to argue this isn't some future event.
Right, that's the first big point that jumps out, this idea that the quiet transition we thought was happening, well, it's kind of over.
Meaning?
Meaning, for years, AI was sort of in the background, wasn't it? Recommending Netflix shows, doing basic translations, maybe helping draft an email. Useful, but
Well,
not central.
okay, yeah, background helper stuff.
But the sources argue that phase is done, that background role. It's shifted.
And shifted pretty dramatically and, like you said, almost silently, according to the material. It's suddenly part of really critical systems.
Exactly. Think about the examples they give. AI assisting doctors with diagnoses now,
Wow, okay.
helping shape what students learn, summarizing complex legal documents for courtrooms, even being used in intelligence
Yeah,
analysis.
banking, right. Fraud detection.
Absolute core business stuff too, running analytics, scheduling, doing ad targeting, outreach, even initial hiring filters. It's way beyond movie suggestions now.
Definitely. So when the sources use this term supremacy, what are they getting at? It sounds intense.
Yeah, but it's maybe more subtle than it sounds. The
Yeah.
way they define it, it's not about AI being consciously better or wanting to rule. It's about AI becoming the default layer.
The default.
Yeah, the system you use unless you actively choose not to. It's being embedded everywhere, almost assumed. It's a new infrastructure.
So less a hostile takeover, more like the plumbing or electricity just being upgraded everywhere at once.
That's a good way to put it. And the key assertion is this integration, this silent takeover, it's largely already happened. We're living in it now, not waiting for it.
Okay, that's a big claim. How do they back that up? Make it concrete.
Well, they throw out some pretty stark comparisons. Like AI is apparently generating more articles every single day than all human journalists put together.
Wait, really? More articles daily than all journalists.
That's what the source material suggests. Think about the implications of that for, information itself.
Yeah, that's huge. It changes the whole landscape of news, content, everything.
And it doesn't stop there.
Yeah.
They say AI is scanning more legal contracts than armies of lawyers could ever hope to.
Faster and probably cheaper, I imagine.
Right. And listening to more customer service calls, gathering more data than any CEO or management team could possibly process manually.
It's providing this sort of superhuman oversight.
And it's even getting into advisory roles in really high-stakes areas. The sources mention AI advising military generals.
Okay, so it's not just doing tasks. It's analyzing and advising at the highest levels.
And beyond advice, it's also increasingly evaluating
Evaluating what or who?
us, often. Scoring resumes for jobs, assessing the strength of legal arguments, even giving feedback on our emails, our presentations, pitches, areas that used to be purely human judgment.
That feels like a significant shift in, well, in how we measure value or competence.
It is. And looking just a bit ahead, the sources project even deeper integration.
Deeper how?
We're talking AI potentially running the incredibly complex systems of entire cities.
Like managing traffic, energy, services.
Potentially, yeah. Or playing a role in mediating diplomatic negotiations, designing smarter energy grids, even governing whole virtual economies.
Virtual economies,
My
like
God.
in games or the metaverse.
Exactly. And managing potentially vast networks of digital workers, other AIs, or automated systems. It's about orchestration, not just assistance.
That sounds much more like science fiction.
But that's the key point. The source material keeps hammering home. They present this not as some far-off possibility, but as the emerging operating system for our world right now.
The OS we're already running on, whether we realize it fully or not.
Precisely. It demands a fundamental rethink of how we interact with, well, everything.
Which logically leads to the next massive question. What happens to human power in this age of supremacy?
Yeah, the sources tackle that directly. They kind of look back historically,
How so?
reminding us how power used to be concentrated, the king, the priest,
Yeah.
later the politician, the billionaire industrialist.
Mhm.
Different figures held the reins in different times.
Okay, familiar power structures.
But the argument here is that the nature of power itself is changing again, radically.
So where does it reside now, according to them, if not with a king or a CEO?
It resides in what they call the intelligence network.
The intelligence network. What is that exactly?
It's not one thing. Think of it like a distributed, interconnected web. It's the AI systems themselves, the massive data sets they learn from, the algorithms, the rules they operate by.
Okay, a network.
And this network is always on, always processing, making connections, influencing decisions at a scale and speed humans just can't match.
Right, which leads to a pretty pointed question the source raises, aimed right at the listener, really.
Which is,
If you're not plugged into that layer, that intelligence network, what's your role? Where do you actually stand?
oof, yeah. And the implication is stark.
What's the implication?
The sources suggest if you're not connected, if you're not actively participating in that network, you're probably not going to be in the room where the big decisions happen.
Not in the boardroom, not in the command center.
Not helping write the new rules or design the new systems. You end up essentially reacting to the outputs of the network rather than shaping its inputs or direction.
So you're downstream from the real power.
That seems to be the core idea. And it boils down to what the source presents as a fundamental choice now.
A choice between.
Either you actively engage with AI, learn to train it, guide it, understand its capabilities, contribute to its development, or you'll increasingly find yourself being trained by it.
Trained by AI.
By having to constantly adapt to its decisions, operate within the parameters it sets, follow the path it lays out. It's a real inversion of who's directing whom.
That's a sobering thought. So how does this connect to something concrete like X365, which the sources also discuss?
Right, so X365 is presented as an organization that's not just observing this shift, but actively trying to build infrastructure for it.
Infrastructure like?
They're focused on building AI agents, specialized AI systems for businesses, for communities, even potentially for nations. Tailored AI for specific functions.
Okay, building the tools.
But more than just the tools. What's interesting is their focus on the whole ecosystem around these agents. They're apparently developing reputation systems.
Reputation for AI, how does that work?
To rank or score these AI agents, not just on how smart they are, but on how trustworthy they are. That seems pretty vital. If AI is going to be everywhere, you need to know which ones to rely on.
Yeah, trust becomes paramount. What else are they building?
The sources talk about tokens within their system.
Crypto tokens. Or something else.
It sounds like a mechanism, yeah, maybe token-based, to incentivize people to participate, to contribute good data or actions, build loyalty, get things done within this intelligent economy they're trying to foster.
So building economic incentives into the network itself.
Seems like it. And another big piece is education.
Educating people about AI.
On a massive scale, apparently.
Yeah.
The goal mentioned is training potentially millions of people on how to actually use these AI agents effectively, how to sell services based on them, even how to build new things with them.
So creating the skilled workforce needed for this new era.
Exactly. It suggests they see that widespread AI literacy is key to making this whole thing work and scale.
And their ambition seems pretty big. The sources mentioned something about scaling like religions, not corporations.
Yeah, that was a striking comparison. It suggests they're aiming for a kind of deep, resilient community infrastructure, something with the engagement and longevity you see in, well, major belief systems, rather than just a typical company structure.
Yeah.
It points to a very long-term vision.
A vision for what, ultimately?
As the source puts it, X365 is trying to build the operating system for intelligent economies.
The OS, again. So a comprehensive platform for this AI-driven future.
That seems to be the goal, covering the tech, the economics, the community, the trust layer, the whole stack.
Okay. And where does that leave the listener right now? Are we already behind the curve?
Interestingly, no. The source material actually emphasizes that even with all this rapid change, if you're paying attention now, you are still considered early.
Early, despite everything we've just discussed.
Relatively speaking, yes. There's still a window, they suggest, to understand this, to engage, and to find your place or even help shape it. But the window might be closing.
How fast? Is there a time frame mentioned?
They point to a pretty critical next 12 to 24 months.
Okay, 1 to 2 years. What happens then?
The suggestion is that within that time frame, this AI revolution stops being something you can choose to ignore or engage with casually. It becomes Non-negotiable, just part of the basic fabric of work and life.
Meaning, if you haven't adapted by then.
You'll likely be at a significant disadvantage. Interacting effectively with AI will just be a core skill, like reading or using a computer is today.
So what are those key skills for the future, according to the sources?
They list a few specific things. Learning to speak to AI, effectively meaning crafting good prompts.
Prompt engineering, basically.
Essentially, yes. Also, the ability to lead or coordinate teams of these AI agents to get complex tasks done.
Managing AI collaborator.
Right. And finally, being able to establish and, importantly, prove your reputation within these emerging digital and intelligence systems, your trustworthiness and competence.
So prompting, leading agents, and managing reputation. Those are the keys.
That's what the sources highlight as crucial for navigating this age of supremacy. And X365, in this context, is positioned as trying to provide the tools in the environment to develop those skills and reward those who demonstrate leadership.
Okay, so pulling this all together, the overwhelming message from the source material seems to be this isn't theoretical anymore. AI isn't coming, it's here. It's already woven into the fabric of how the world works.
Absolutely. It's a fundamental shift in the operating reality.
And the call to action that emerges from these sources is pretty clear then, isn't it?
Very direct. It boils down to learn to prompt effectively. Start building things with AI agents. Don't just use them passively. Engage in these new tribes or communities to earn and contribute. And actively build and guard your reputation in this new landscape.
Because the final, really provocative thought the source leaves us with is, well, it's that the future might have already chosen its new organizing principle.
And that principle isn't necessarily human, is it?
No, it's intelligence itself. Raw, distributed, increasingly non-human intelligence as the driving force.
This is Deep Dive EE. And as the source material makes a compelling case for your understanding, for your planning, the age of supremacy in many ways starts right now.